Helen was reflecting on her middle school days. She grew up being looked down upon by her parents, who were obsessed with her handsome and talented older brother. When she was in middle school, she decided to run away from home and was raised by her grandparents for 10 years. When Helen moved to her grandparents' house, her parents and brother didn't contact her at all. However, one day, when Helen's marriage was decided, her parents came to visit her after a decade. What shocking words did her parents say when they saw Helen, who had gone through a dramatic change? And what kind of revenge will Helen take on her parents? Parents only dote on my handsome, capable brother. I ran away. Shocking words from my parents 10 years later. 10 years ago, when I was in junior high school, my parents didn't show any interest in me and only doted on my handsome and talented brother who was obsessed with anime. I was openly looked down upon and compared to my brother, which was really painful. Eventually, I decided to run away from home. And for the past 10 years, I've been taken care of by my grandparents. Finally, I have a chance to be happy. And today, I want to tell you about the past 10 years of my life.
Just hearing the beginning of your story, I can tell that your life has been extraordinary.
Running away from home as a junior high school student must have been really tough. There were many conflicts I faced before I left, and I also had a feeling of not wanting to lose. But I thought I could be happier leaving my parents and brother like that than living with them. And that idea turned out to be absolutely right. My grandparents were really kind to me, and now I think of them as my parents.
Are your grandparents your mom's or dad's parents?
They're my mom's parents. My brother and I were always compared to each other since I was a kid. My grandparents noticed that and said to me,
"If things get too tough, just come to us anytime."
They would say things like that to me, and they gave me their contact information. So I decided to run away and contacted them right away, and then took the train to their house. It might bring up bad memories, but what was it like being compared to your brother? My brother was handsome, and even as his younger sister, I knew he was popular. He was also really smart. Everyone thought highly of him. A lot of people from all generations expected a lot from him. Because of his good looks, he would get a lot of compliments. He would humbly accept them, saying things like, "I still have a long way to go." But in front of me, he would show his true colors and say things like, "If you were as good-looking and talented as I am, your life would be much easier." He would look down on me for not paying enough attention to my appearance as a girl. By the way, he showed his true colors in front of our parents too, but for some reason, they seemed happy when he looked down on me. What your older brother said is really true. You're a girl, but your appearance is kinda meh. You know, your mom is beautiful, so why do you look like that? Well, I guess you just got a lot of my DNA. You are also quite handsome, darling. You have to work hard to become prettier, Helen. And speaking of hard work, you should be able to manage your studies on your own, Helen. You should learn from your brother more. Your grades last time were terrible. If your looks are no good, then you gotta compete with your brain. After all, women aren't valued if they are not pretty. You have to be able to live on your own. You should study more. They've always been denying me like this. It's been like that since I was little. It's been really damaging to my self-esteem. Growing up in a family like this is like torture.
Those aren't the words you say to a young child.
I can't believe those are the words they say to their daughter.
Maybe my parents never really thought of me as their daughter. They would make comments like, "We only needed your brother." Back then, I used to take every word seriously and be hurt by them. I would cry alone a lot. I wish I could go back in time and tell my child self that it's going to be okay and that I can be happy.
It's making me cry just thinking about it.
What led you to decide to run away from home?
It was when my parents hurt me badly by constantly comparing me to my brother. We don't need an ugly and stupid daughter. Even though they said it like it was a joke, I took it seriously. I thought, I don't need parents like this. After that, I immediately contacted my grandparents. Even when my parents realized that I was leaving, they didn't try to stop me at all. In fact, they said, finally, she's gone. Now we can be with our son. I left home crying. I can't believe that there are really parents who are that horrible.
I can't help but think how awful it must have been for Helen. She was just in middle school.
I try not to think about that time too much because it was so painful. But because of my actions back then, I have the happiness I have now. I'm really glad to be alive and that I can be happy for the first time in 10 years.
I'm so happy for you.
What did your grandparents say?
I think they were really angry with my parents deep down. I saw them call my parents a few times, but they didn't talk about my parents in front of me because they knew I didn't like that. Anyway, they tried their best to watch over me so that I wouldn't be hurt. Thanks to them, I was able to graduate from high school without straying. You can't thank them enough.
I'm really glad you had people like them.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I didn't have to go to a facility. My grandparents are older now than they were back then, but they still want me to be happy. So I want to repay them now that I'm an adult and I can do it.
By the way, haven't you seen or talked to your parents in the past 10 years?
I'm curious to know also. I haven't seen them or talked to them at all. They didn't even congratulate me when I graduated from middle school and entered high school. There was no contact when I graduated from high school and got a job as a yoga instructor. Of course, they've never come to see me. I think they've forgotten about me. What a shame.
They don't deserve to have kids.
You should forget about them too, Helen.
Yeah, I only consider my grandparents as my only family. I actually don't want my parents to contact me. I don't really want to meet them or talk to them now. And there's nothing I want to tell them.
You said it was your chance for happiness. Did something special happen?
Oh, right. I need to tell you about that. I have been dating my boyfriend for a while, and we've decided to get married. He's someone very important to me, and it's like a dream come true to become a family with him.
You can't choose your family when you're born, but you can choose your partner.
I'm so glad you found someone nice. He knows everything about my past, and he really cares about me. He's also very kind to my grandparents and already feels like family. Just meeting someone like him has made it possible for me to overcome my unhappy past. If I think of my difficult past as something that I had to go through to meet him, I feel like I can overcome anything now.
I'm getting emotional hearing about your engagement after learning about your history.
Have you told your parents about the engagement? I'm not sure if I should tell them, but my grandparents might bring it up. They seem to be in contact with each other without me knowing, probably for my sake.
I bet you can't help but get mixed feelings even if they do or don't contact you.
I want them to leave you alone already. I've been able to overcome things so far, so no matter what happens from here on out, I'll be okay. I'm glad I could open up to you guys about my past. I usually can't do this. It feels like I can finally settle things from the past. I hope my marriage goes well, and I'd appreciate it if you could wish me so. I wish you all the happiness in the world.
I want you to have a happy family.
Some followers learned about Helen's difficult past and hoped that she would finally have a happy family. Even though she had her own tough past, it seems like Helen hasn't given up on happiness, which is heartwarming. After a while, Helen came back to the site and it looks like there was a new development.
After not hearing from my parents for 10 years,
They contacted me when they heard about my engagement.
So, they finally contacted you.
I'm really curious about what they said.
I didn't give them my phone number, so my mother must have contacted my grandmother. My grandparents told my mother that I was getting married. And then, my surprised mother called my grandmother to ask about it. This is what I heard. Is it true that she's getting married?
Yeah, just as I said. He's a really great guy, and we've been treated very well by him.
I can't believe she's getting married before her brother. I can't believe it.
She's finally going to be happy. Please don't get in the way of that.
Of course not. I want to see Helen and meet her boyfriend.
I don't know if she'll allow it. You haven't contacted her for the past 10 years.
I know that, but I was hoping to start seeing her from now on. It's been difficult to find the right timing. Thanks to you, though, I'm still connected to Helen like this.
I'll ask Helen, but don't expect a good answer.
Yeah, just ask her, please. When I first heard the story, I felt disgusted, but I quickly changed my mind and agreed to meet with my parents.
They're so selfish.
Why meet them when it's better not to?
it's to show them how much I've changed in the past 10 years.
There's no way I'll be looked down on like I was in junior high.
I'm confident enough to say that I've really changed in this 10 years.
I'm curious about how your parents will react when they see the drastic changes in you.
I guess it's sort of like revenge on your parents.
Yeah, I'm going to make them regret for abandoning me. I don't know if it'll work out, but I think they'll be surprised to see me now. I'll definitely make them regret not keeping in touch.
Your revenge plan sounds interesting.
Let us know the results.
My parents are coming to my grandparents' house next week, so I'll come back to let you guys know. I believe it'll work out well. The followers were confused by the sudden turn of events, but after hearing about Helen's plan, they became very interested.
Will the revenge after 10 years really be successful?
And finally,
the result of the 10-year reunion between Helen and her parents will be revealed. Hey everyone, I just met my parents after 10 years.
Today, I want to tell you everything that happened during that time. I'd appreciate it if you could listen till the end.
Welcome back, Helen. We were waiting for your update.
Let's hear your result of revenge.
First of all, my honest impression after meeting them after 10 years
was that both of them looked really worn out, which surprised me. They were nothing like they used to when they boasted about having a handsome and successful son and were full of confidence. I immediately sensed that something had happened. On the other hand, my parents' reaction was as expected. Are you really, Helen? You've become so tall and beautiful. I can't believe it's really you, Helen. You're unrecognizable. Yeah, really. You're even prettier than your mother when she was your age. I was a little excited to hear those words and thought that my hard work had paid off. Thanks. You two look like you've lost some weight. How's my brother doing? When I asked that, my parents' faces suddenly darkened. Actually, he failed his university entrance exams and has been acting differently since then. He's been taking his frustration out on us and has become a recluse in his room. Your brother has really let himself go. He doesn't even look like himself anymore. He doesn't work. He's just eating and sleeping all day. The reliable brother we used to know is gone. I was honestly surprised when I heard about his information, but when I found out he was going through a rough time, I couldn't help feeling a little happy. It's kind of funny to see him hit rock bottom.
His brilliance has become a past glory.
It must have been shocking for your parents.
My parents seem to be struggling with the gap between their ideals and reality. But I think the person who's suffering the most is my brother himself. He's become disillusioned because his life has turned out to be the complete opposite of what he envisioned. So it's not surprising. Well, you could also say it's his own fault. That's part of the reason why my parents were stunned to see me change so drastically. Helen, I heard you're getting married. Who's the lucky guy? We're all dying to meet him. He's waiting in the living room. Why don't you come in? I told them that and led them from the front door into the living room. By the way, my grandparents were there too, silently watching over us.
Finally, the moment of truth. It's funny that they seem like they're ready to be wowed.
I have to admit, my fiancé is a pretty good-looking guy, and even my parents were surprised by him. They probably weren't expecting much from my fiancé since he's marrying me. Well. Looks like Helen caught a good one. She's looking pretty gorgeous. It's only natural that a great guy like him would end up with her. My parents had never said anything good about me, so I was kind of shocked, but also pleased. Nice to meet you. I've heard a lot about you from Helen. He greeted them with a smile, but what he's heard from me about my parents were pretty terrible stories. Noticing that, my parents couldn't keep their heads up. After the introductions were finished, my parents did a complete turnaround. I can't believe Helen's partner is such a handsome and successful entrepreneur at such a young age. I mean, I'm really surprised that my daughter is marrying such a great guy. I always thought her older brother would get married first. I'm really surprised too. It's great to see Helen so happy. We've been living apart for 10 years, but it's a relief that we were able to reunite like this. As I watched my parents speak with smiles on their faces, I honestly felt like I was about to throw up, but I tried my best to respond with a smile. I never thought I would be this happy. I'm grateful to be alive for the first time. I knew my words were full of sarcasm.
Great job, Helen.
I can smell the scent of revenge. My parents coughed, trying to cover up the awkwardness. Well, back then, Helen had to go through some difficult times, but now she seems so happy. Her partner seems like a responsible person, so we can rest easy now, right, honey? Yes, that's right. I always thought Helen could do anything. But I never expected her to find such a great man. I'm so proud of her. As I watched my parents talk like this, I'm sure my fiancé must have been disgusted by them. Helen is a truly wonderful woman. She's strong, bright, and kind. I almost feel like I'm not good enough for her. She must have had a great upbringing. That's what my fiancé said, praising my grandparents and sarcastically passing on some criticism to my parents. Good job, fiancé.
That is too funny.
But the interesting part was from here on. I have no idea what they were thinking, but they brought up something unexpected. We had always been hoping the best for Helen, not her older brother. It's great that we can reunite like this. We're happy that we can be a family again. That's right. Hey, if it's okay with you, would you like to live with us? We're renting, so when you and your fiancé get married, we can come live with you. At that moment, both my fiancé and I froze. Even my grandparents, who were listening, had their eyes wide open. That's crazy.
How dare they say that?
That's what I thought too. If my brother doesn't turn out good, then they turn to me. How shitty is that? So I finally let out all my frustration straight out. You two both say the most convenient things, do you? You're not really serious about living together, are you? Of course we're serious. We're family, so it's not strange for us to live together. Yeah, if we're really a family. But I already feel like we're not a family anymore. Why would you say that? Neither of you came to visit me even once in the past 10 years. You didn't even care about me, did you? Grandma told me everything, you know. Besides, since the day I ran away, I never thought of you two as my family.
Helen, calm down. You're in front of your fiancé.
It's okay. He knows everything about how you treated me.
Okay, I understand. I'm sorry for laughing at you comparing you to your brother back then. That was not right.
Me too. I regret what we did to you.
You're only saying that because I turned out decent and you thought my fiancé, a company president, would support you, right? Unfortunately, we don't plan to take care of you guys. We're planning to live with Grandma and Grandpa, though.
You are? Then can't we come too?
Why do I have to live with someone who's not my family? Also, we're going to live in a house that we're buying soon, not this one. We don't plan on telling you our address either. Today is the last time we will ever meet.
What do you mean by last time?
Just what it means. I have no intention of ever seeing you two again.
Are you cutting ties with us? You're our daughter.
Don't make me say the same thing over and over again. We're not family anymore. You both abandoned me 10 years ago. Stop expecting me to be what you want just because my brother didn't turn out the way you wanted him to. Now, it's my turn to abandon you.
Abandon us? Please don't say that.
Yeah. It's because your older brother became an unemployed recluse that our savings are dwindling rapidly. We can't keep going like this.
Well, that's your own fault. If you feel like he let you down, why not ask him directly instead of me? I mean, you take care of him, so it's reasonable to expect him to work.
No matter how many times we tell him, he won't leave his room.
In that case, there's no choice but to drag him out. I'm not going to lend a hand.
Helen, please. I'm begging you. Please forgive us for what happened in the past.
I'm sorry, but I won't forgive you for the rest of my life, and we can never go back to being a family again. When I said that, the room fell silent. My grandparents watched silently until the end, allowing me to say everything I wanted to say. My fiancé patted me on my shoulder when I finished speaking. Only my parents looked pale and bowed their heads.
A perfect revenge. They deserve to be abandoned.
After that, my grandparents helped my parents stand up and kick them out of the house.
Well, it seems like there's nothing left to say. So why don't you go back to your own home? You still have a son, so try to do something about that.
That's how they spoke to my parents. It seemed like they couldn't argue with me anymore, so they obediently went home. My revenge was finally over, and now I feel a great sense of relief. I think I will never forget the regretful faces of my parents at that time.
Great job, Helen.
That was awesome. I'm happy to report the results to you guys like this. From now on, I'll live a new life and I can say goodbye to those parents for real. I'm going to live a happy second life.
I hope your parents and older brother are miserable.
Wishing you the best, Helen.
And so, Helen brilliantly accomplished her revenge. The family who abandoned Helen 10 years ago ended up being abandoned by Helen this time, and her followers seemed to be very satisfied with this outcome. Helen herself must have been filled with a sense of accomplishment. The grandparents understood and watched over Helen's feelings, and her fiancé witnessed her revenge. Now, Helen can finally start her second life, and her followers wish for her happiness as they leave the site.